We did support was the Lfrs Centre, which is something that my brother's son has had help, and continues to get help from, and they are a child bereavement counselling service. So a very small charity based in Leicester, and we've managed to raise some funds for them to allow them to give that sort of support to young children that have lost their family parents, or brothers, sisters, whatever. But it's child bereavement counselling, so we've been able to support them through some of the rides.
I've just stopped. I'm going to start again, but just tell me about his family. Was it 5 years ago?
Yes.
How were they then, and how are they now? Like, obviously, how it affected them now, and a bit about them.
Yeah.
If you want.
No. Yeah. Well, I guess initially, it's very raw, isn't it? And the whole dealing with that emotion, and my nephew Albert was 3.5, 4 when it happened. So his memory of his father is obviously very diluted now, and as a child you struggle to remember, and it's obviously been a big drive for us as a family to try and you write notes for him and do things and kind of speak about his dad, but in a positive way, because people don't talk about it because it will raise emotions, but you have to say, like, he looks at me and I see my brother in his eyes, and sometimes he freaks me out. I say, oh, gosh, you look like your dad. Don't do that. He's got little dimples like his dad. He's got a little cowlick like his dad when he was younger. But I like that, and like I spoke to him today on Christmas Day, and asked him what presents he got, and kind of there's things like I'm sad because I know my brother would have loved to have been there, but I can't change that. But you have to be there for him, and he'll say, oh, did my dad do this? What did you do when you were kids? So I've written him notes to say, oh, we used to climb trees, and he loves climbing trees, and he does this and he does that. And like, we did a thing when so my brother, he didn't want to be buried. He was he didn't want to be buried. And he always said, when I die, just cremate me and throw my ashes off a mountain. So he was 50 a couple of years ago. My brother would have been 50 a couple of years ago. So we climbed up Snowdon and threw his ashes off the top of Snowdon on his birthday. And I managed to get my mum up there as well, who was like nearly 70. But killed, I don't think she could walk for a week after. But Albert came up, my daughter came up, my wife, my brother's ex-partner, and we just, it's just a few of us, and my son came up and we just chucked his ashes off the top, came back down, had some food and went home. But had to do it, and it was kind of just because that's what he said to do. But kind of moving forward, I guess, Albert's transitioning now, he's 9 in January, and he's kind of, there's a different angle on how you speak to, a young individual, and talking about death and grief and all that sort of stuff, and there's different ways to interact with him. So he is back with the Lfrs Centre, but he's getting on, and he's a lovely little lad. You can sometimes see that he's had a different life to his peers.
There's a different type of, like we just spoke about, different types of people's interaction with death. You have a daily interaction with possible death. But what was it like for Albert and you and the family when he passed? Was it a shocking in-your-face thing, or was it not? It was a little bit more disconnected than what you see daily for death.
Now you see, now I didn't believe it when I was told, and then I went to the hospital to see my brother, and he was there, and I touched him. But I still didn't believe it. I walked out, like going, come on then, we're going to go to the hospital, we're going to see him in the mortuary. And then they've got it wrong. It's somebody else. And we went in, and I'm like, mate, what are you doing here? And I held his hand and kind of like, it was just, and then we both walked out of there, me and Melanie. And, well, that didn't work. still didn't feel like him, but it was him. We knew it was him. But like, yeah, it's so hard to explain. And yeah, I've witnessed many deaths and fatalities, and while they're hard, it's different when it's somebody that you know and you've known for years, played with and fought with and, you know, fell out with and laughed with. Yeah, it's just bizarre, isn't it? And yeah, I couldn't. But I only went to see him in the hospital. I couldn't go and see him in the house arrest because I couldn't. I could not deal with it. I couldn't make sense of it. So I just thought, well, I've got that image. I know what it looks like, you know, and I'll just deal with that, and I'll take that, and I may look back and regret not going and seeing him again, but that's just how I felt at the time, and that's what I had to do to move on.
Amazing. Stop it again. Yeah, God, it eats up memory cards, doesn't it? But those are amazing. I think the whole, you know what I'm like, I never really know why I'm coming to film. I'm just like, there's something that I need to film. But I think it could be just a whole video about him, you, fire service, and the ride. This could be a start of a video that could be in 2 or 3 parts. I'll press stop for now. About
when
the
we
ride.
get to next year's
about the ride, yeah.
When we get to
because
next
then
year's.
we come again.
Well, did you hear the twist on? So.
Shall I film? Is it? It's part of the story.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look forward now. So 2 years ago, what are we going to do this year for our charity, for our challenge? How are we going to stretch and test those limits of individuals? So our plan was, so we're, as a fire service, we're twinned with Krefeld Fire Service in Germany. And another conversation that I'd had with somebody, with one of the riders, is, oh, you know, your brother said we should ride to Krefeld. Mate, no, that's just ridiculous. Why would we do that? And then it gets in your mind, and you're like, and you get on Strava and you start plotting a route. This might be doable. Because we've got a bit of background now. We've ridden across the country and we've gone round and round in circles. We can do this now. So I created a route from Leicester. So Paul's got a tree over the road outside of headquarters that they planted for him. We're going to ride from there to Harwich, get on the ferry, get off the ferry, and then blat across Holland into Germany, just because we can, and try and raise some money. So we tried to do that 2 years ago. Clearly COVID has had other ideas, and we haven't been able to do it. But the plan is this year that we're going to push and we're going to go for that. But because we haven't raised any money for 2 years, I feel really bad now for the charities that we're trying to support. So as I was saying to you earlier, I've got this guy just started in the service, John Butler. I've managed to convince him, I don't know, I think he's going to hate me, probably a bit like when you try and convince me to do stuff, that he's going to get on board with the fundraising side of it. And I want to raise a good amount of money to make up for the years that we've missed. But we're going to try and do 300 miles now. To go and, you know, I can go and do the London Marathon. We can all do that, I believe. But I also believe that we can all ride to Germany. I could get you to Germany. I know I can, because of what I've learned on the rides that we've done. With training, with that support on the ride. You know, if we do it as a team, and that kind of encompasses everything that we do in the fire service, because we can't fix an incident unless we work as a team. Now, we can't get everybody. So interestingly, we did Chase the Sun South. We got 8 out of 11 to the end. We did chase the cheddar. We did prove it. We went round and round in circles for 12 hours. We did Chase the Sun North. And I was adamant that we're going to get everybody to the end. All 12. All 12 to the finish. 200 miles. Because that was my goal. It was getting everybody to the end and before the time as well. And we did that. Because you can do anything. You can do anything, can't you? So next year, we're going to ride, God willing, from here to Harwich, Hook Holland to Krefeld, 300 miles. There's no time limit as such, but we want to get there to have a beer. And we're going to raise a load of money for charity as well. And we're going to support the firefighters charity and then give them that financial support that they desperately need to support the firefighters that are getting injured. responding to incidents.
Tell us about that last little bit then, about the firefighter charity.
So the Firefighters Charity, yeah, they've got 3 or 4 centres that do mental and physical support for serving and retired firefighters. So, you know, if you're on a job, one of the guys in Leicestershire only recently stumbled on a job, he's broke his ankle. So he's going to have to, you know, he's going to go up there, he's going to get some respite care, physio, and they're going to help him through his injury to get him back working where, you know, where he's needed. And then if you get the individuals that have had traumatic incident after traumatic incident after traumatic incident, eventually, you know, you start to fill up, and eventually they might have to kind of put their hand up and ask for help. So they do all of that, and they don't charge. They don't charge. So they're desperate for this money. They really are desperate for this money.
That's mega.
See, that will start us off for next year's filming.
Not filming now, but yeah.
No, but that will though, won't it?
That's fucking great.